Oh, I don't think it was a good day at all for Miss Kouri. Not even in Sarah Boone's book. Y'all, Kouri wasn't the only one with a reaction to the verdict, to the sentence, to her case in general, okay? Today we're going to be looking at several clips from a variety of people, from family members to lawyers to podcasters, who all spoke out about the verdict, about the sentence, about the case. So, you're going to want to grab your true crime blankie. You're going to want some Cheez-Its. Pass some to me too. And you're going to want to buckle up for today's video.
Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup.
Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. That's a Roscoe. That's you. That's me. My name is Paul, if you're new to the channel. If you're not new to the channel, my name's Nigel. It's Nigel. Kind of like nitrogen, okay? But Nigel instead, okay? Anyways, y'all, we're going to be looking at a bunch of different interviews, clips, just like I said earlier, of Kouri Richins content, okay? What people are saying, what people have to say, etc., etc. I've been kind of like scouring the internet and whatnot. This will be an endless list, of course, because this will probably be talked about for, well, the rest of my life, I imagine. Now, if you're not familiar with Kouri, let me tell you who old Miss Kouri is, okay? Kouri Richins was married to Eric Richins, and she was eventually charged with taking the life of Eric by administering a lethal dose of fentanyl. Now, this court case drug out for years and years. It finally went to trial, and she was convicted of this. After that, she was also sentenced to the rest of her life in prison, life without parole. So she had, we had a sentencing hearing. She spoke out. She talked to herself for quite some time, okay? We'll hear all about that today. So that's where we're at with the case. So what I want to do is I want to start off by looking at some clips. And the first one we're going to look at is Nate Eaton. And if you know, Nate Eaton's followed so many of these cases. I was introduced to him through Lori Daybell case, and his career has just really blossomed. It's just been a wild ride to watch how successful he's become. Well, he's sitting down in an interview with Sky. Sky was one of the original attorneys for Kouri, and she was no longer an attorney for her for various reasons. We're not sure. She says it was nothing like major drama, but conflict of interest, whatever, okay? So let's start off and see what she had to say about her opinion on that sentence.
Were you surprised?
Yes and no. This is the harshest sentence that they can give. I can understand the court's reasoning without being critical of it. However, I think those of us who've been involved in the case would have preferred to see her sentenced to 25 years with the possibility of parole someday.
Do you feel that 25 to life may have been a more appropriate sentence?
As a defense attorney, that's what I would have liked to have seen. That gives her the possibility of someday being paroled. The reality is, in Utah, with our Board of Pardons and Parole, she's going to do an extensive amount of time, and the judge did allude to that. She's looking at 30 plus years either way. The idea of parole allows her to serve her sentence and then, someday, be released and perhaps pay some retributions to society.
I don't know about all that. Now, here's the thing, and like she brought up, Utah has this kind of unique situation where it's almost like every sentence is almost like a parole type situation. So think of Ruby Franke, think of what's her name, Jody Hildebrandt, right? Where they get these charges, and it's almost like this, you're kind of going up against the board all the time, right? So that's kind of unique to me, at least, in looking at other states. Now, also, it doesn't surprise me that one of the defense attorneys, would want that lower sentence. That's what they're there for, right? They're trying to aim for that, for the best result possible for their clients. I know this is not her client, but that's where she's coming at from it. And yes, she is correct. Pretend that Kouri got the lighter sentence, right? And pretend that it was like all concurrent, whatever, with these other little charges she got. And so it was like, look, you're looking at 25 to life. Well, for something like this, they're not going to let her out at 25 years, right? And who knows how much longer that could go. So it's like you're already going to spend a lifetime in prison. However, just like the judge said, this was so heinous, so pre-planned. And as we'll hear from other commentators today and analysts and whatever, Kouri has only dug her heels in. She has blamed everyone and everything around her. So even starting off with, I'm trying to get the best sentence possible, she's starting off on the wrong foot is what I'm trying to get at, right? Because she's just like, no, I'm innocent. I mean, her brother's up there, this is a corrupt system, this is this. And that's never going to go over well because regardless of what she says, she was convicted of this, right? So the court, the judge, the state is looking at like, you are guilty of this crime, okay? And the more that you dig your heels in that you're completely the innocent victim here, the worse it's going to be for you. Now, of course, at this point, she doesn't have anything to lose, right? Now, she didn't know that before she got sentenced, but she probably had a good idea of it, okay? And we'll hear somebody make some commentary on that here in a minute. So let's go ahead and move on to those next clips. And the next clip I want to do is I want to go from legal to family. And we're going to be looking at an interview or a speech that Amy gave after the court hearing and whatnot. And behind her, you'll see some of Eric's, or at this point, the family friends who were supportive of Eric, supportive of the family. Now, Amy was the sister that Kouri would throat punch, who she came after. Amy gave major emotional testimony during sentencing, right? I mean, just pulling your heartstrings out. So let's hear what she has to say after all that was settled in the courtroom.
Sentence speak louder than any misinformation ever could. Through it all, we have honored Eric with dignity, patience, and truth. To the members of the jury, we owe you a debt of appreciation that words cannot fully express. You were asked to step away from your lives and shoulder the heavy burden of our family's tragedy. We thank you for your diligence, your sacrifice, and your courage in weighing the facts to see through the distraction. I also want to acknowledge and thank Eric's lifelong friends. Some of them are standing here behind me. These incredible men who have consistently supported our family. During the darkest times, they never turned away. Instead, they stepped into roles and spaces that were never meant to be vacant, attempting to fill shoes that no one truly can. We invite everyone to remember Eric and his generous spirit by performing a kind act for a stranger. A lot of things have happened. So 13 was Eric's lucky number. And so a lot of things throughout the last 4 years have actually ended up on the 13th. To us, as soon as the judge read the 13th, I knew Eric was around. That was a definite sign that Eric was around. So to me, it wasn't a bad thing. It was Eric saying, don't worry, I'm here. We've got this.
I think that's pretty amazing about the 13 thing, right? Because remember, it was his birthday when they did that. And then also for her to say that's his lucky number, et cetera, et cetera. And also to hear her speak of the friends who are behind them, I guess metaphorically and physically, right? Who stepped in. Because remember, when this first happened, Kouri, first of all, nobody's expecting Kouri to kill Eric, right? Well, let me rephrase that. Right off in the beginning, some of the sisters and stuff like that were like, wait a minute, hold up. We heard phone calls about this of like Kouri contacting Brian and other people and like gaslighting the family and this and that. She was very busy spinning her plates, spinning her lies, spinning her tales to get everybody pivoted against each other, this and the other. And at the end of the day, it's even if you're thinking like she could have had something to do with it, you never want to really just sit here and be like, could this person have just killed the husband, her husband, but the father of her children, our brother, our son, you know, et cetera, our friend. And so I'm sure as this unfolded and they were like, whoa, you know, oh my gosh, like number one, I can't believe I supported her. I can't believe I consoled her. I can't believe that she, you know, whatever. I can't believe that she did it. So I really like how Amy came out here and spoke with that. Also, just what all Amy has gone through and her other family members as well and friends, et cetera, right? But to be coming to court, speaking and doing all this, I can only imagine it's probably like a little bit of a double thing. I'm sure there's like a level of alleviation of stress, like once, you know, Kouri was sentenced and whatnot, but also a level of just like, oh my gosh, like that level of almost like a burden that she's put them through of having to show up over such a tragic event you're never expecting to have to do, right? I just feel like it would be exhausting, utterly, just down to your soul. Now let's pivot and let's listen to what a juror had to say. He was pretty cryptic about it, but I still wanted to include it just simply because I was always fascinating what some jurors say. So let's go ahead and listen to him.
I mean, that judge is about as classy as a judge there is. From a profession, he uses his language incredibly well, and I expected nothing less from the way that he handled that entire sentencing. Yeah, I mean, I'm on a group thread with them all, so everybody's texting me, I think, as we're speaking right now. I put my phone down for the interview, obviously, but yeah, I mean, a bunch of wows, you know, some other things that I'll probably keep it close because this was such a great juror group. I want to keep some of the comments probably, unless they want to speak about them, let them speak out in their own forum. But yeah, we're all in contact, and you know, even the alternates have a great lens on what happened. They saw everything. So there was 8 of us ultimately, but there really was 12 of us, and so there's a support system there to understand. And after listening to Kouri's, you know, very long statement, you know, there's a lot of emotion in that, and it brings everything back. And so, yeah, as a human being, it's just taking it all in. That was only, 10 minutes ago. So
very interesting how he said, like, number one, they're all in contact, which I can imagine. He was like, I don't want to say some of the things because I personally think that probably a lot of the jury was like, and throw away the damn key, okay? Right? I don't think that anyone saw through her BS. I don't think there was a question about it. It was just so obvious. And I felt like he did really good here because I think also as a juror, you're carrying that weight of like, I don't want to mess the trial up. I mean, especially in the heels. And I know that Becky Hill is not a juror, right? I'm speaking of the Alec Murdaugh conviction being overturned, his sentence, his case in general, okay? But when you're seeing things like this and you see drama spark off and, whatnot of like, well, this juror said this at this case, and but you want to kind of keep it zipped, especially this fresh after something comes out where it's like, oh my gosh, she just got sentenced to life and they're already like wanting to interview you and whatnot. So yeah, completely fascinating. Now I want to take a minute and just look, we're going to put a screenshot up here. So one of the people that spoke at sentencing in favor of and support of, I should say, was Greg Hall. Okay, now this was like a business associate. I was like, I'm not sure, right? He was very emotional. He said that he and Kouri talk every day, text every day, do this, do that. He's known her for this long. She wanted to do this. She wanted to do that. He had a very different opinion and view of Kouri than most people. And more interesting than that was how Kouri sat there while he was saying these amazing things and blubbering over her. She looked totally disinterested, just bored and almost disgusted with him, right? If you also compare it to how she viewed her brother when he was up there saying, how this is a corrupt system and all this, and she's over there bawling and crying. This is the only time I've seen her get like super emotional during this aspect of the case and the trial. So I'm just curious with Greg, like, who is he? Like, it's so odd to me. But you'll see him on the screen here afterwards from, wherever he was being interviewed at here after he spoke probably. And it says, she's a wonderful, wonderful, good human being, and it's heartbreaking for those of us that truly know her. At the end of the day, I believe that justice will be served. I know the wheels will be turning for an appeal. And he is correct here. Of course, she's going to appeal. I think she might have already filed it or whatever. I mean, that's just how that goes, right? Doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but again, you never know. Once again, to reference it, Alec Murdaugh just got his case overturned. So, hey, anything's possible. Now let's go look at some clips of the friend Brian. He was very, prevalent in this case, in this trial. This is Eric's friend. This is one of the people who there was evidence of Kouri talking to him on the phone, and she's just, gaslighting him and triangulating him and this and that and trying to get him turned against the family. And they said this about me, and oh my goodness. And I'm sure it was a huge shock to him and devastation when he learned the actual truth. So let's hear what he had to say in this interview.
Kouri used her time to address her sons directly. From your perspective, how did that message land with the family? In their physical demeanor, did they have any interest in what she had to say?
I don't know. I'm sure some of them did because some of them said, I loved Kouri or I loved her like a sister, right? And there's got to be something deep down somewhere that realizes, oh, we had all these good times or whatever, or this was ultimately the mother of Eric's children or whatever it is, right?
Yes.
He brings up such a good point because just imagine someone in your family, right? An aunt, an uncle, a sister, whatever. Think of all the events, all the snapshots, all the Polaroids that I'm dating myself that go through in your mind. And I'm just imagining in my own version of that where I'm like, I would be thinking this, I'm like, that same person that we were opening Christmas presents at the tree at the family gathering did this? Wait, that person who, when we were at the lake that summer and this happened, we were all sitting there laughing over it. Wait, this person who looked after my kid, you see what I'm saying? They have to be going through that because I'm sure at one point some of them were like, yeah, you know what? Our brother married her. She was going to be his wife. She was his wife. So, I mean, she was part of the family, like it or not, because I think some of the family members were like, they probably saw through her real quick. But again, it's like their brother or whatever. So it got to the point where they would testify like we were begging him to leave her, right? But you're sure there's that window in the beginning. And I can't imagine what that would be like.
I think it impacted everyone in that room in some way, whether they really want to admit it or not, because they've got this anger around the whole process and wanting to see it end. A last chance to speak freely in that way.
And it was well prepared. So in a way, it taught me that she knew this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Excellent point, right? Here's the thing, and she'll bring the interviewer, the host will bring this up. In my world, and not just Kouri, but a lot of these cases we look at, I'm like, surely they are mentally preparing for this to be the case. Because some of them think Charlie Adelson, right? I even think Donna was prepared for this is how this is gonna go. But Charlie Adelson, he was shocked. Okay, he was like, in the face planted on the thing. So I think Kouri had to have known because she prepared that big letter that was directly to her kids, right? So there's some level of she had to be mentally prepping for this is a possibility.
If she thought she was going to get parole, I feel the edits would have been different. And which was also conflicting because when they gave the sentence, I thought her reaction was surprised.
I think so too.
But it's 50-50, so.
How much time has she had being in the Summit County Jail over the last couple of years to think if this was going to happen? It could.
Here's the thing. One reason I think she's surprised is because I think the judge, and when I say he trolled her, I'm not trying to like minimize his professionalism. I think he's an amazing judge. And I think it's the way that he did it. I think this makes him a very eloquent writer and speaker, because when he was reading it, I was like, oh, he's going to give her the lighter version. He's going to give her the lighter version. And I think she thought that for a second because you could almost see a glimmer of hope on her face. Like, it worked. You guys, it worked. You guys, the whole story about my kids and all that BS that I did in that book, it worked. I might be going home one day. And then he was like, but in the face of this, at the end of the day, this is what you did. And you could see it drain from her face. So I think he got her hopes up a little bit and then he like let them go back down. Now, also that was to show that he considered every option, because I forget the wording of it, but it's like the court is to consider every single option. And so he thought through and he was showing not only like us, whatever, the court, the law, whatever, but Kouri, I've thought through every reasonable thing here and we're going down each rabbit hole, which is what you want the court to do, right? You don't want them to be like, you know what? Just F it. You know, you're getting this or you're walking free or whatever. You want them to truly go down each avenue of what does this look like? What's appropriate? And I felt like he did that and he was like, yeah, you ain't leaving, honey.
Possibly go that way.
Yes.
Keep in mind, this is practically a death penalty.
I know.
It's practically a death penalty.
It's almost worse if you think about it critically, because there's no release.
No.
She said the quiet part out loud. Here's my thing. This is worse than the death penalty. Okay, if I was up in some situation like this where we're talking like you've killed some people, you're looking at a lifetime in prison, okay? Honey, please. I'd be begging for it, right? I'd be doing the Alien War Nose thing where I'm like, exhaust everything. Remember how she did that? Now, she did kind of go back and forth a little bit, but she was basically like, exhaust all my things. You're wasting the taxpayer money. Take me to the damn chair. Even doing that, you're going to sit on death row for years and years, right? And now there is good reason. We just saw that one dude get, off, like whatever it was. I don't know if he was in death row. Well, yeah, he was in death row. I can't think of his name right now. Very recent headlines where they're like, hey, get him a new trial, get him back out on bond. Like, hold on now. He might not have done this. So there's good reason. But if you're sitting here, like, you did it. They know, all that kind of stuff. What do you have to live for at that point? I know you could argue for Kouri specifically. Oh, she's got kids. She's got this. Honey, she don't care about them kids. Okay. She might say she does. Honey, those kids were next as far as I'm concerned. She doesn't care about those kids. If she cared about them, she wouldn't have killed the father, right? And I'm sure on some level she cares about them, but not in the way that, and I don't want to use the word normal because I hate saying that, but like a normally regulated human being would care about their children at bare minimum. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's present with her. Now let's go listen to another criminal trial attorney, Lisa, and see what she has to say.
And I'm like, oh no, it's giving Sean Gathright. Like, what is she going to say? Right. So it may have been her complete judgment call to say that she wanted to make this statement. But I would think the attorneys have had an opportunity to review it. And for whatever reason, they think it's not prejudicial, or whatever her thoughts, Kouri Richins' thoughts were Trump.
It does. When she said that, I just thought about that where I was like, I guess the lawyers would have read it and been like, yeah, this is okay. And maybe made some edits to it, but also just seeing like she's, because Kouri, again, mostly spoke to the children. At least we'll say this in a minute, where that's why it's almost like she knew this was coming. So maybe she had two versions of a letter. I don't know. I would think so. I mean, she had all the time in the world. She could have written a couple of versions of it. So that part right there where it's just like, surely she thought that through. Surely the lawyers read it. What did they have to say about it? What would the unfiltered, unedited version of what Kouri said sound like? Because remember, at a certain point in the letter, Kouri kind of twists things around to start being like, she's pretending to talk to her sons, but in my opinion, she's kind of like projecting what she thinks has been done to her onto her sons, to where she's like, remember, there's going to always be somebody that wants to tear you down, that wants to take out of context your actions, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what a scary world you're presenting to your children. Not that everything should be sugar-coated, but it's like, these are your words to your kids, right? This is what we're going to be doing today. Okay.
This is 40 minutes long. We are 2 minutes or so in, and she is about to start talking about the date. It wasn't the date that the father died. Is it the date that she was wrongfully arrested or whatever? The whole focus is, I've been trying to get a hold of you guys and they're not letting me. And that might be true. But I'm thinking maybe the first thing should have been, I didn't kill your father.
I mean, thank you, right? Say it for the louder for the ones in the back, okay? There are so many things that could have, should have been said. If we are to suspend reality and like consider Kouri's viewpoint for a minute of she's innocent of these charges, that whatever she's trying to say happened, like whatever, accidental, whatever. Never has she spoken in the terms of that kind of grief, okay? And I'm not talking about that little ghost written book she's got either. You know, but nothing in there. It was like this whole time dedicated to how the world has done her wrong in the guise of advice to her children.
I didn't do this. They got it wrong. I think she touches on it towards the end. Way too little, too late.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, literally, that would have been the first thing out of my mouth. I can understand addressing the children in a certain way first, right? I get that, and I would expect that, but the way she does it is so weird. It's coming from not a place of love, but anger and spite and revenge on others and projecting. It's gross, okay? Okay, let's round this out and listen to one last clip of a few different people talking here on a podcast, and we'll use that as just a way to wrap up our thoughts and some last bit commentary.
What did you think about the fact that she even made a statement? It seems to me that there's a little bit of a risk that she could actually increase her sentence, make it harsher if she doesn't say the right thing.
I don't think she had a choice. I think she had to say something. When she speaks at sentencing, it's a free for all. She has complete authority to say whatever she wants. No one can question her. No one can cross examine her. She can say her piece, and she could ramble, which she did. She rambled a lot. Yes. The whole thing was a speech to the boys, but they're kids.
Yeah.
Right now, they have reason to be afraid of her.
So here's the thing, and he's totally right. Like, here's a chance for her to speak unfiltered. Doesn't matter what others say. Like, she can get it all out there, right? And that's what she did. And also, like, she chose, like they said, she chose to speak to the boys. They're very young at this point. Well, I mean, not super young, but I mean, they're young, right? At least one of them is still. But I mean, they were young when this happened, okay? But they're old enough to process and whatnot now, right? So some of this speech is going to probably go over their head a little bit. And I think some of it, they're going to understand that mom's off her rocker.
But when they're our age, they're not going to be afraid of her. And so I thought there was a chance the judge would leave the door open for some chance at some level of rehabilitation within the family.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that she proclaimed her innocence. Do you think that might have contributed to the judge basically throwing the book at her?
Yes, I mean, absolutely. So she's never admitted anything.
Yeah.
She's always proclaimed her innocence, and she'll die with that. Yeah. Really, she will, because she has nothing to gain now by we hear this all the time. With repentance comes forgiveness. And if you ain't repentant, you're not going to get forgiveness. Yeah. So unless you come to the table and say, forgive me for I have sinned, I need some help, I did a horrible thing, then she would have had a hope. But she's also, if you look at this persona, and she believes what she's saying. Yeah. I don't see her as a woman who's, wrestling with this, and this was a horrible thing I did.
He brings up two good points where he's like, I believe that she believes what she's saying, and I do too at this point. Again, it's almost like Donna Adelson, these characters like that, where I believe that in their world they look at it like, no, this is the evidence. Even if they have the image of what they did of killing a person in their mind, and the evidence says differently, they're viewing it like, no, like the evidence, you can't prove it the way you're saying, so therefore, because I don't know how you could hold those two things in your mind of, I know, like Silver Kouri, I know what Eric looked like when he was dying of the drug overdose in the bed, However, I'm going to sit here and just heels and chest out say I didn't do it. Simply based on the fact of they can't prove that. There's no video in there. They don't know. You see what I mean? And it takes a special kind of person to do that, in my opinion. Now, also, like he said too, I would be very curious. Number one, a couple of things, and if you know, drop in the comments. Number one, was Kouri offered a plea deal? Okay. Would she have been offered something lighter or something of whatever if she had come forward and like, oh my gosh, I did a terrible thing. I want repentance. I want all this stuff, right? Or even going to trial, because you know how these finish a lot of times when they go to trial, they're going to get the harshest sentence thrown to them, regardless, because of whatever. And this has gone on for years and years, right? And she's done a lot of terrible things in between then, even trying to control witnesses, control testimony, control the narrative. So let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And while you're down there, if you could, please drop off some little sofas for Roscoe in spirit, Cheez-Its in spirit. Bo and Loco are absolutely beside themselves. They are like, Dad, we can't be recording. It's time to play. But also, most importantly for you, the Sofa Squad, the most important because you make the channel possible, and I greatly appreciate it. And until we get down in that comment section and do all the stuff we just talked about, I'll see y'all soon.
Welcome to the Sofa Squad, sipping from the cup that, hey, 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 come laugh with the Sofa Squad. Can't roll my damn eyes hard enough.